Hello everyone, welcome to Vishesh Educational Videos. In this video, I am going to give the introduction about signals and also I am going to explain about POSIX defined signals. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. To get the notification of my new videos, please click the bell icon. And please don't forget to like the video and please don't forget to share the video with your friends. So let me start the introduction to signals. Also, along with that, I'm going to explain about POSIX defined signals. So what is a signal? Signals are triggered by events and are posted on a process to notify it that something has happened and requires some action. So when some event occurs, you have to notify the process that event has happened. How you are going to do that means by sending a signal to the process, you are going to tell that process that something has happened and that process should take some action. So signal can be generated from a process, a user or the Unix kernel. So signals can be generated by a process also, by a user also or by the Unix kernel also. So when the signal is going to be generated, when an event occurs, signal is going to be generated to notify that something has happened and some action required. For example, when you switch on the computer, right, the signal will be passed, right, passed to the processor to tell that your computer is switched on. So you have to take some action. What is the action you should take when a computer is switched on? You have to boot your OS. OS should be booted. Getting guys? For example, you can see here a process performs a divide by 0 or dereferences in null pointer. So the divide by 0 error needs to be notified. So when you are going to, how you are going to do that means by sending the signal. For example, another example, a user hits, if a user hits delete key at the keyboard, obviously when a user presses any key on the keyboard, the signal will be sent to the processor to tell that input is given by the user. So understood guys? So signals are triggered by events. So signals can be generated from a process, a user or from the kernel itself, right? And one more important thing, a parent and child processes can send signals to each other for process synchronization. So a parent can also send signal to the child, also child can also send a signal to the parent. Two-way communication is possible here, mainly to achieve the synchronization. Parent and child can communicate through signals, right? And signals are the software version of hardware interrupts. Hardware interrupt means when you press the key is the part of the hardware, that is keyboard, right? That's why signals are generated when the hardware interrupts occurs. That's why I can call signals are the software version of hardware interrupts, right? And also signals are defined as integer flags in the signal.h header files. If you want, there are different signals present in POSIX. So all the different signals are defined as a flags, and those flags are defined in signal.h header file, right guys? So now I'm going to discuss different types of signals that are defined in POSIX Unix systems, right? The first signal is sig alarm. So when the timer expired, it needs to, right, make a sound, right? Alarm should make a sound. So what is the default action? When the timer is expired, it is going to terminate the timer. It's going to close the timer. Sig alarm, mainly to send the signal when the alarm is expired or when the timer is expired, you have to use sig alarm signal. Next, sig abort. When a process is aborted, that means abnormal termination. When a process right is closed abnormally, you have to use a sig abort signal to tell the process that to tell the kernel that the process is terminated abnormally. How you can do that means by using a sig abort signal. So what is the default action? Obviously it is going to terminate that process, right? Next, sig FPE, arithmetic exception. If any arithmetic error occurs, it is going to send a signal, sig FPE. What is the default action? For every one more important thing, most of the signal default action is terminate. They are going to close the particular process. Just remember that. Here also terminate is the default action. Sig HUP, controlling terminal hang up, right? Controlling terminal, if a terminal is not working, if it is hanged, then you can send a signal sig HUP. So default action again terminate, right? Next, sig ILL, illegal machine instruction. If you are trying to execute illegal machine instruction, so it is going to send a signal sig ILL. Next, sig INT, terminal interrupt character. If you press delete or control C keys, obviously signal int will be generated, right? When you press the particular control C keys or delete keys. So default action terminate. Next, signal kill, sig kill, to kill a process. To kill a process, you need to use this signal sig kill. Sig pipe, if you want to write to pipe with no readers, you know that pipe is used as the shared device between the two processes. So one process can read to the file, one process can read to the pipe and another process can write, one process can write to the pipe and one process can read from the pipe. So two processes can communicate with each other by using a pipe. One is going to write, another is going to read, right? Sig pipe, when you have to use the signal when you want to write to pipe. Next, sig quit, terminal quit character, right? If you press quit character, the signal will be generated. Next, sig SCGV, that is segmentation fault, invalid memory reference. When the invalid memory reference happens, the sig SCVGV signal is generated. Next, sig term, terminate process. If you want to terminate the process, right, if you want to kill that process, you can use sig term, right? Getting, guys? You can use sig term, you can use sig kill, right? So more default action for most of the signals is terminate. So next is sig user1, user defined signal. So here you can see here user can also define some signals. If a user want to define the signals, you can use two user defined signals, that is sig user1, sig user2. Both of the signals are reserved for the user. Next is sig child, change in the status of the child. If anything happens to the child, that changes should be notified to the parent, right? That can be notified using sig child, right? If you want to continue the stopped process, you can use a signal sig continue to continue the stopped process. You can see here the default action for the sig child is ignore. If a change is happened, obviously if a change is happened in the status of the child, you can ignore it. Default action you can ignore, or else if you want to take action, you can take action also. Sig continue or ignore. Yes, when a sig continue issued, you can continue the stopped process, or else if you want to ignore, you can ignore also. That is also possible. Next, sig stop a process execution. If you want to stop a process execution, you can use sig stop signal. So default action, it will stop the process. Next, sig TTIN. What it will do means, it is going to stop a background process where it reads from its control TTY. when a background process wants to read from its control terminal, it's going to stop a background process, right? To make sure it is going to read from TTY, the background process will stop. Default action, stop process. Next, sig TSTP, stop a process execution by Ctrl Z key. If you press Ctrl Z key, process execution will be stopped. When you press a Ctrl Z key, sig TSTP will be generated. So default action, stop the process. Next, sig TTOU, what it does? Stop a background process when it writes to its control TTY. When a background process wants to read, you should use sig TTIN. When a background process wants to write to its control terminal, you have to use sig TTOU. What is the default action? Stop the process, right? Next, one more important thing you have to know is when a signal is sent to process, it is pending on the process to handle it. That means when a signal is sent to the process, a process can take a decision. A process has to handle that signal. If a signal is sent, a process can react to signals in one of the three ways. A process can do three things when it receives the signal. What is that? First case, what it can do means it will accept the default action of the signal. Obviously, it will accept the signal and it will do whatever the default action that is defined for that signal. You know that most signals have a terminate action, default action. That is the first choice. Second choice, what it can do, it won't take any default action, it will just ignore the signal. The process can do that. That is the second way. And what is the third way? So invoke a user defined function. So process can invoke a user defined function. The function is called signal handler routine, and the signal is set to be caught where the function is called. It has to catch the signal. Process has to catch the signal. After catching the signal, it should invoke a user defined function. Some function will be there. It will tell what to do when a signal is catched. So that action should be taken care by the process. So that action will be executed. The action will be defined in the user defined function, and that action that is defined in that function will be executed when the signal is catched. If the function finishes execution without terminating the process will continue execution from the point it was interpreted by the signal. So if you want to continue the execution, you can do that. So after invoking a user defined function, it is not a rule that you have to stop the execution. No. If the function finishes execution without terminating the process can continue its operation or its execution without any problem. After the default action, after the user defined function is executed, your process can continue its actual task. So, and one more important thing, most signals can be caught or ignored. You know that most signals can be caught. If you want, you can caught that signal and you can invoke a user defined function, or else if you want, you can ignore that signals also. But you can't caught or you can't ignore most the two signals. What are those? Sig kill and sig stop. So you can't catch this signal or you can't ignore this, because it is going to terminate it's going to stop the process. That's why, right? You can't ignore sig kill and sig stop. And the opposite for sig stop is sig continue. Sig stop is going to stop the process. Sig continue, what it will do means it is contradictory. It is exactly opposite. Sig continue will resume a process execution after it has been stopped. Right? If you want to continue, you should use sig continue. If you want to stop the process, you have to use sig stop. Both sig stop and sig continue signals are used for job control in Unix. Obviously, job control means what? Some jobs has to be stopped, some jobs has to be started. So how you can do that? By using these two signals, sig stop and sig continue. And a process is allowed to ignore certain signal so that it is not interrupted while doing certain mission critical work. Very, very important. Mission critical work means it is a very, very important work, and the priority of that work is the priority is the first priority. That means you can't stop. You have to continue the process even the signal is sent. You have to continue that. You have to continue your task even after the signal is sent. That is mission critical work. For example, see here, a DBMS process updating a database file should not be interrupted until it is finished. Else database file will be corrupted. It should restore signal handling actions for signals when finished mission critical work. For example, best example is ATM. When you are withdrawing the money, after after the money is withdrawn, that particular balance, deducted balance, should be updated, right? So at that time when other signals try to stop that, you can't do that, because if you stop that process, your database will be corrupted, your account balance will not be updated properly. That's why I should restore signal handling action. Restore means first I will finish the DBMS related work, then I will take the signal, and then I will execute that signal once the mission is completed. So this is the thing. Every time whenever the signal is generated, I can't take the action right at a shot. No, I can't do that in some cases. For example, I told you, right, ATM example. And one more important thing, because signals are generated asynchronously to a process may specify a per signal handler function. This function would then be called when the corresponding signals are caught. That means for every signal there should be a handler. Handler means it's like an address. It is like a identifier for the signals, because process can generate signals asynchronously. That means randomly. At that time you have to identify the signals. How you are going to do that means by using the signal handler. The handler contains the identifier, unique identifiers. By using that signal identifiers or a signal handler, you can you can identify the signals, and you can continue your work. You can catch your signals. A common practice of a signal handler function is to clean up a process work environment, such as closing all input-output files before terminating gracefully. Obviously, what is the use of this handler function means when the task is completed, if you want to clean up a process work environment, such as closing all the input and output files, right, you can do that, or else you can't identify which signal is generated, right? You can't do that cleanup work. That's why you need to have the signal handler function, and you can clean up a process work environment, and you can terminate the task gracefully. Getting, guys? So hope you understood the concept. Suppose if you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section. Thank you for watching the video.